Hello everyone. So today we are going to see our first unit, that is casting processes. So today we'll see the detailed information about the casting processes. So what is the casting process? So casting is the process in which the liquid molten metal is poured into the casting cavity and allowing it to solidifying, and after solidification the casting can be taken out by breaking the mold. Okay, so this casting has different steps are there. If you see in the figure, here you can see the ladle is there. In ladle the molten metal is there, and that and here the two flasks are there. Here you can see. Okay, and also here this top portion that is known as a cope flask, and bottom one is a drag flask. And here you can see the core is there, the casting is here, and also apart from this the riser is also over here. Then one more, the riser is over here, pouring cup, sprue. Here you can see the different parameters which are available in the casting process are there. So here what normally do, first of all, here the cavities are made. How, that we will see in our upcoming PPT. Okay, so first of all this cavity is made, and in this cavity the molten metal is poured over here. Okay, and when this all the cavity is filled by this molten metal, here it comes in upward direction. So whatever the pouring action is there, it will be stopped, and this complete cavity is filled by this metal, molten metal, which is in liquid state. Okay, but here what happens, whenever this solidify, okay, remember, whenever this required, this is this cavity is nothing but our required part is there. Okay, so whenever this solidify, at that time what happens, it shrinks. Okay, so to while shrinks, the extra metal is accessed from this riser. Okay, this is what our required part is there. Okay, and this is the extra metal which we are keeping, which helps while shrinking this casting, or while shrinking this metal, this risers helps to provide the extra metal while shrinking. Okay, so here what happens, first of all the pattern is made. Okay, let us see. Okay, first of all we will see the one more definition of casting. So casting is a manufacturing process in which a liquid material is poured into a mold which contains a hollow cavity of desired shape and then allowed to solidify. Okay, so this solidified part is known as a casting. Okay, which is later broken out of the mold to complete the process. Okay, and if we see this casting, normally the casting is used for making the complex shape, which is either a difficult or uneconomical method while used in other process. That means by using a lathe machine or other method, the complex shapes cannot be produced. So to produce the complex shape, the casting processes uses. Okay, and normally if we see, whenever the mass production is there, in mass production this casting uses to produce the large number of parts. And if we see most of the automobile industries, okay, whatever the engine blocks or transmission cases are there, they are made up of this casting. Okay, as you can see the complex shape which is not able to produce by other processes, but it can be easily produced by the casting processes. Okay, so these are some information about the casting process. Let us see further the step. Okay, so here what happens, initially Initially what happens if we want to make one parts by the casting, so to produce that part, first of all the pattern is made. Okay, the pattern is nothing but the replica of the required part. Okay, then it kept inside the box and it is filled with the sand. Okay, now there is process is there how it is kept, that we will see later on. Just for the sake of understanding, understand that that part is kept inside over here, the pattern. Okay, and after that the mold is prepared by filling this box with the sand. This mold is prepared, and after that what happens, they remove the pattern. Okay, so after removing the pattern, how they remove that we will see. By removing the pattern, this cavity is formed over here. Okay, so after that the removing that part, the pattern, the cavity is formed, and in this cavity the molten metal is poured to form the object, the required object. And after pouring the molten metal, it allows some time to solidify this molten metal. Okay, so after that what happen, they break. After solidifying this molten metal, the mold is broken by fettling action. So what is fettling, that we will see later. But this mold will be broken and this casted part is removed. Okay, but if you see finally, there are some extra runners are there, these risers. These also parts are attached in this required part. So after removing this part, these excess parts will be removed. Okay, and after that the inspection of this object is carried out. So here you can see the steps. Casting is the process in which the liquid molten metal is poured into a casting cavity and allow to solidify. After solidification of the casting, okay, so here that is molten metal is there which is poured into a cavity and it allowed to solidify, and after solidification the casting can be taken out. Okay, by breaking the mold. Here you can see the steps are there. Okay, first is pattern making, then you can see further that is mold preparation. Okay, then after mold preparation the molten metal is poured, and after pouring the molten metal it gives some time to solidify. So solidification is there. After solidification the mold is broken over here by fettling action, and here after breaking all the molds we will get the required final casting, and here further you can do at the end the inspection of that casting. Okay, so here you can see the different parts over here. Okay, so whatever these parts are there, that is the pumps, gear pumps, underwater pumps, these impellers, cast iron body, these pumps, bodies, whatever these bodies are there, which is these are normally made up of by the casting. Okay, these are, if you see finally, these are the complex shapes which you cannot produce by other method, and if you are able to produce this by other method which is not economical compared to the casting. Okay, so it's see such shapes which is only possible by using a casting. Okay, so let us see next the different components here, which I have already earlier said you that here first of all two boxes are there which is known as a flask. Okay, and in this flask the sand is kept over here, that is mold is prepared, and if you see finally over here these are the locator pins are there. Okay, so normally these locator pins are allowed to hold these two blocks, that is cope and drag together. Okay, so due to that, the whatever the part which is produced, it is as a required shape and size. Okay, so let us see further. Here you can see the, okay, so here you can see the different parameters. First one, that is scope. This top box is nothing but this flask is called as scope. This bottom one is called as drag. These are nothing but locating pins. At the inside, core is there. So what is core, that we will see in our upcoming slide. Here the cavity is there. Okay, this cavity is nothing but our required object is there, and to this cavity the riser is connected, and here the gating system is there, and further the sprue is there. This sprue guides the molten metal, okay, from enter to the cavity. Okay, this sprue allows, this guides the molten metal inside this cavity. Okay, and this getting system further gives the direction to the molten metal, and this top portion is nothing but a pouring cup is there. Okay, now as I earlier said that the pattern, so let us see the pattern. Okay, what is this pattern and types of pattern, that we'll see. But before that, let us see one small video over here about the casting. Okay, and before that, I want to just tell you one example of the casting which all of you have seen in Ganpati festival. As you have seen the statues of Ganpatis, okay, that Ganpati, it is also the example of a casting processes. Okay, okay, so what happens normally in Ganpati, how it is prepared, as all of you are aware that, so whatever here in Ganpati statue, as you know, the cavity was prepared, and in that cavity the sand is whatever the plaster of Paris is there, it is poured into that cavity, and after that we'll get the required size and shape of that Ganpati idol. Okay, that Ganpati idol. Okay, so this is what the one of the known example of the casting which everyone knows. Okay, so let us see one small video of this casting. So here, as I earlier said you that two boxes are there, that is cope and drag. Okay, these two flasks are there, and if you see to this box some extra plate is there. This is known as a, this is for a locating pins, locator pins. And if you see here, the patterns are there inside the box, the pattern is kept. This pattern is nothing but the required part. Okay, that is which is going to be produced by this process. And if you see further, the sand is there which is poured into the box but by filtering. Okay, if some foreign particles are there, then it will be difficult to get the required object, or it to avoid some error or some mistakes, it the sand should be filtered. So we will see in our upcoming slides, in our upcoming slide, why this is filtered, why the sand is used. Okay, so let us see further. Here you can see this box is filled with the sand. Okay, completely. And then here you can see the ramming action is there. That means whatever the sand which is poured inside the box, it is rammed. Okay, so here you can see the runner and riser is there. That means the whatever the molten metal is there, it can be poured from one of the end, and from other end it will come outside. So we will get the idea that yeah, it is filled with the molten metal. If it is not there, then we can't understand where it is filled or not. Okay, if it is not open, so at the time the chances will be that some air will be trapped inside this cavity. So to remove it and also to know the metal is filled the cavity, this riser is provided. Okay, here is also the sand is filled, filtered sand is there. Here you can see the getting system, it was covered by the sand. Okay, it is completely filled by the sand, and again it is rammed. Okay, now if you see, okay, here you can see, if say for example our required part or required product is a circular part is there. Okay, so in that condition it is made up of two part, that part. Okay, first part is kept in the drag portion, and another part, half part is kept into the cope portion. Okay, so we'll see later further about this. This is called the pattern, which is required part. Okay, it is removed. Now this is whatever it is, the gap is there, it is nothing but a cavity. This is mold and this is cavity. Okay, it is flipped, and the whatever the pattern is there, it is removed by using a screw. Okay, and here you further you can see the getting system is there. This also can be removed. Okay, now if you see, this is called as a core. That means whenever we want some hollow part, hollow portion inside the component, at that time the this core can be used. Okay, this is flipped and kept on the that box. So here you can see the locator pins are allowed. Due to that, it can't move. Okay, and if we see, this top portion is called as cope. This bottom box is called as a drag. Okay, this is these both are nothing but a flasks are there. This is cope, this is drag, and these are the locator pins, which do not allow to move these two boxes, which hold these boxes together. Okay, this is what the transparent view. Here the molten metal is there, which is poured inside this basin. Okay, so here you can see the metal is rising, and here you can see the metal is coming outside the cavity. So at that time, whenever this metal appears, this pouring action will be stopped. Okay, then certain time is given to allow to solidify this molten metal. Okay, remove all this, and here whatever the mold mold cavity is there, here you can see this mold cavity is broken, and this is what the required shape and size of the product. If you see further, the runner and riser is there, but it is also further removed. You can see ahead. Okay, so this is what our required part, and here you can see further the hollow portion is there inside the part, which is produced by using a core. Okay, so let us see once again the video. Just a minute. Here you can see this is the required part. Further sand is filtered into the box, which is nothing but a flask, which is known as a flask. It, here runner and riser is there. or you can see the sprue is there, sprue and riser. Ramming action is there. Seat is flipped and the pattern is removed, the cavity is found over here. Again this is flipped, pattern is removed. Okay, this is core, we want hollow part, that's why core is there. If you see here, here you can see the pouring cup is there, so it allows it guide the molten metal to flow inside the cavity through a sprue and gating system, through this sprue and gating system. Here you can see this is the required part. Okay, so initially what happens, whatever the, first of all the pattern making is there. Okay, whatever the uh, so whatever the what we can say, the part, the pattern is the replica of the required part. So pattern is made, and if the pattern is made and it is made in a two parts. Okay, here you can see, here you can see the cavity. Okay, okay, so pattern as we have earlier seen in the video, first of all two boxes are there. Okay, and in that boxes the patterns are kept inside the box, which is known as flask. And in this box, what they did, they poured the sand. Okay, filtered sand, and after pouring the sand they rammed it. Okay, so that whatever the air which present inside those cavity or inside the mold, it get removes. And what we can see that due to the ramming, whatever the sand is there, it firmly stick to each other inside the box. Due to that the ramming action is done after pouring the sand. And after that what happens, here also the sprue is kept. Okay, here the riser through sprue, what happens, the molten metal is poured. Okay, so after this what happens, the same action will happen over here. Okay, then after that these both boxes are flipped, and in that whatever the pattern is there, it comes to the top portion of the box, and that pattern is removed with the help of screws. So due to that, in one of the box what happens, the half portion of cavity is formed over here. Again this blue box is also flipped. Okay, so again will the pattern is removed from these boxes, again we will get such cavity, and here also we'll get the sprue and gating system. Okay, so what happened on this box, this flask is kept over here, and it is fixed by inserting a locating pin on both sides. Okay, then this this top box is called as a cope, and this bottom one is called as a drag. Okay, so after this what happens, the hot molten metal is poured in a cavity through a pouring cup, through a sprue, through a gating system to a cavity. And here in riser we can see whenever the metal comes, when metal appears, we stop to pouring the metal. After that, what we do, we allow this molten metal to solidify. Okay, and whenever this solidifies, at that time we break this mold cavity. Okay, after that we will get the required object, but it is along with this riser and screws are there, but this we can remove. After that we will do the inspection of this part. Okay, so today we are going to stop over here. In next lecture we will see the pattern making, pattern materials. Okay, then the allowances, types of pattern we will see in our next lecture. Okay, so that's it for today's lecture. Thank you.